The Isis Thesis, Chapter 3, The Opening of Mouth, Why the Deceased and his double cross over to the black hole. Alright, so IS 19, these are the texts they referencing throughout the chapter. I think that's the main ones. Deceased king's jaws fasten gab / earth opens jaws / mouth, so king becomes Osiris. Split iron of mouth, king enters sun bark, and iron door opens strong iron on the king's mouth. In an attempt to understand the Egyptian metasymbols, we have proposed that Earth's magnetosphere is an authentic model for the duat. One can also compare the Sun and Earth's magnetic field lines to the reed floats of the deceased fairies on the western to the eastern horizon. In line with this idea, the deceased sun god encounters numerous deities lining the riverbanks of the duat like frozen ions on magnetic field lines. The activity of the deceased traveling through the duat on reed floats suggests the dynamics of drifting on the open magnetic fields like to the sun's interplanetary magnetic field. The pyramid texts state that the reed floats of the sky are set in the place for Ra, and the deceased, who hopes to ascend on the reed floats as Osiris did. The Nightbark brings these reed floats or open field lines to the deceased so that he can cross them. Additional language about finding the broken cord and knotting the ropes also suggests the magnetic reconnection process of field lines breaking and merging. The significance of magnetic reconnection is important, for there are numerous references in the funerary text of the opening of mouth ceremony, which is similar to the process. For example, chapter 161 of the Tibetan Recension centers on breaking and opening in the sky. Breaking and opening in the sky. Although most of the text is unintelligible, the rubric is intact. It describes 4 openings in the sky, emphasizing its secrecy, that it is truly a secret, which no one of the people should know. The openings are in the north, south, west, and east. Now, in 21st century space physics, this matches up nicely with the reconnection sites Dungy and other physicians have targeted in the magnetosphere. Although difficult to explain without an animation, the spinning Earth also exhibits the dynamics of quadruple cusp, cutting off the winds 4 times as it rotates. So it may be possible that the Egyptian opening of the mouth ceremony describes the process of magnetic reconnection, or what the Egyptians refer to as crossing over. The Egyptian terms for the ritual are WPR or WPTR and WNR, both which translate to the opening of mouth. The verb WPI connotes an opening that entails splitting, dividing, or separating, and can indicate the separation of 2 combatants or the determination of truth. The earliest Old Kingdom textual references to the ceremony date to the early 4th dynasty in the decoration of the tomb of the royal official Metjin. The captions state the ceremony is performed 4 times. The pyramid texts of the Unis also mention the ceremony. Inscribed on the north wall of Unis' burial chamber is an offering ritual in which 2 blades of meteoric iron are said to open the mouth. One blade is described as Lower Egyptian and the other as Upper Egyptian. Roth, 2002, and on page 295, relative to our Sun-Earth model, it seems reasonable to infer that the Lower Egypt blade represents Earth's magnetic field line, and the upper Egypt blade represents the solar IMF. Decoded. Lower Egypt blade of iron equals Earth's magnetic field line. Upper Egypt blade of iron equals Sun's magnetic field line. And then be a little bit more clear. Lower Egypt blade of iron equals Earth's magnetic field line. Upper Egypt blade of iron equals Sun's magnetic field line. Both the coffin text and the earlier pyramid text have numerous references relating to the opening of the mouth, which demonstrates the unity of the text. The coffin text reference Geb, earth, opening his jaws, and the earth opening his mouth. The firmament dividing. The coffin text in verse 98, the west opening. Coffin text 109, the gates opening. Coffin text 147, the iron broken. Coffin text 816, the sky, earth, and horizon opening. Coffin text 1146. Likewise, the pyramid text refer to Zemin or cream splitting open the mouth, the king's jaws dividing, the god's iron of Upper Egypt dividing from the Lower Egypt, the sky doors opening, the mountain splitting, the splitting of the mouth by means of the eye of Horus. In addition, the words of the ceremony were performed 4 times as the wind on earth were cut 4 times, as the deceased makes his seat in the mansion of sunrise 4 times, as the deceased travels the watery chaos 4 times, as Osiris comes 4 times. So the language of the text and the etymology of the Egyptian word WPTR and WNR point to the magnetic reconnection process of field lines breaking and merging. Decoded. Opening of mouth ceremony equals magnetic reconnection. Period. Meta symbols for magnetic reconnection. The process of magnetic reconnection, which is initiated by the tearing instability, can be compared to the opening the mouth, as well as gates, barriers, mountains, jaws, doors, sky, iron, and rejoining of the riverbanks. It is interesting that in magnetic reconnection, each plasma is frozen into its own magnetic field. The plasma do not mix with the thin boundary layer formed between them. The layer also constitutes a current sheet. Magnetic reconnection is a process by which lines of magnetic force break and rejoin in a lower energy state. The excess energy appears as the kinetic energy of plasma at the point of reconnection. Another metaphor to describe this process of reconnection is crossing over. The deceased on the southern side of the winding waterway urges Thoth to put me on the tip of your wing on yonder northern side of the winding waterway, which suggests that the deceased crosses over the northern side, as does may you cross over, O great bull, to the green fields, to the pure place of Ra. Crossing over is also referred to as knotting the ropes which were severed, finding the broken cord, joining the riverbanks, and the riverbanks will unite, and the great waters are joined together for you. Again, these activities are very similar to the process of magnetic reconnection and the coronal loop in the visible manifestation of energy transport mechanisms. And all of those run-ons y'all heard was basically them referencing different verses in the coffin text. So I'm going to let you get a glimpse of that, but we're going to put it back down so I can actually read.